Before we get into today's story, I just wanted to talk about Chilling. Chilling has been making waves in the horror community as the new home for horror. Chilling has over 700 creepypastas, scary stories, true crime, and all of them are ad-free. New content is constantly being added, along with new narrators reading your favorite spooky stories. My favorite feature from Chilling is their one-of-a-kind background ambient menu, which lets you choose the ambience that is perfect for you. Ambiences are also now available independently for when you really want to kick back and relax. And don't forget that you can now download your favorite stories from Chilling and use them for offline listening. To get started with Chilling, give their free trial a try to test things out, and if you like it, it's only $2.99 per month after that. Chilling is also running a PS5 bundle giveaway, including 4 new games. To enter, just start a free trial or be a subscriber on the app, and fill out the feedback form. It's really pretty easy. Links for the app and the giveaway will be in the description. Big thanks again to Chilling, as always. I've lived my whole life in Alaska, as did my parents and my grandparents. Except the large area and next to and in my city, an unusual amount of people went missing, just higher than the average in Alaska, which is already pretty high. And everybody who went missing in my area didn't return. The number wasn't high enough for it to be on the news, but still. And I also regret to inform you that many of those who never came back were children or fathers and mothers. It deeply saddens me. Either way, let's begin, and how I got taken and how I'm the only one to survive this weird story. I had finished my shift at the grocery store late at night. I had no car and the weather wasn't too bad today, so I walked home in the darkness. The cold made me shiver as I put on my coat. I walked past an empty park, and I got unusually sleepy. Soon, I collapsed onto the concrete before blacking out completely. That's all I remember from that night except a small giggle. I awoke inside of an old dusty warehouse. All the windows were boarded up, as was the door too, but I felt completely fine. No headache or injury or anything except I was very dirty. The warehouse was empty except for a couple of boxes and spare pieces of plywood. I walked over, filled with confusion, looking into the boxes, only to find excess Bibles and popular books. At least if I were stuck in here for a while, I had something to do. That was until I heard a voice. It was a light, male, energetic voice that sounded like it came from speakers. Welcome, welcome. I hope you like your first room. You'll just be staying here for a little bit. His voice trailed off. I got that, here you go, and done. I was still very confused, but now even more after hearing a voice. That's when I remembered last night, and I realized that I had been taken. I freaked out, running over to the door and trying to pull off the wood, but it was strong. There was nothing in the room that I could use to help, and weirder yet, when I looked from where the voice came, there were no speakers. How was that possible? Trying to leave already? I had plenty of fun stuff for you. The voice spoke happily. You know, you're probably bored. Go. I heard something behind me, and as I turned around, it seemed to be a door filled with darkness. I walked over, peering into the dark. It appeared to be a large hallway with many doors. Seeing no other option, I walked through as the door slammed behind me. It was cold with frost on the dim hallway. People with twisted limbs and no lips with large teeth that looked like they were filed to be sharp. They crawled on the ceiling and walls. All the doors were locked except for an open door at the end of the long, cold hallway. "Just go through the door there." I found it hard to go forward as I lifted the things with twisted limbs. They made a quiet, chirping sound. I slowly walked forward, my eyes on them. Soon, I quickened my pace and found myself running to the end of the incredibly long hallway as quickly as I could. Yet with all of this, I felt somewhat calm. The things didn't even turn their heads to me or notice me. I ran through the door as the doorway behind me had disappeared. It was darkness and cold. I felt fear as my mind still continued to try and understand everything. But I didn't have time before the man appeared before me. It was like a bright light coming down from the ceiling, holding out his arms. The brightness stopped, allowing me to get a good look at him. He had long, blonde hair, with a white robe and white wings. He looked just like an angel, except he had a large scar across his right cheek. "Welcome. I'm glad I finally get to introduce myself." The joyous voice spoke. His movement seemed off, and in his presence I felt fear. "I am Michael." He bowed, grinning. "Where are you? Did you take me here?" I was clearly shaking and wishing to be home. "Oh, yes. You must have many questions. I am an angel from above. I took you here for a trial. All that I must tell you is to stick to the path at all costs. Do you understand?" I guess, but I still have," he interrupted me. "Well, very good. I must go now. I have a bit of work, so I won't be able to talk to you." Michael turned around and just floated into the walls. What in the world was going on? The only way that it would make sense was maybe I had died, and now I'm in heaven or hell or wherever people go when they die. I was never the religious type. A dim light illuminated the room, revealing a black wall, floor, and ceiling. Nothing was in the room except for a shiny doorknob that I had approached. I grabbed the cold doorknob, opening the door as I muttered to myself, "Stay on the path." The door led to what appeared to be a house at night. I was in the living room with no windows and a pile of instruments like a violin, a piano, and others. And behind me was a hallway. I walked the dark hall and it appeared that there were two options, upstairs or another hall. I opted to go upstairs. After investigating the house, I found that it was just a normal house, and I was confused, so I went back to the living room. A large doorway and it led to what looked like an indoor construction site. When I entered it, it felt like somebody had left my side, like I was on the wrong path. But I didn't bother correcting myself, wandering further into the endless maze of tools and cement pillars. The cold turned to warmth like a blanket wrapping around me. I stumbled through the seemingly endless construction site until I saw a light. It was an exit, so I rushed out, only to find myself somewhere worse. It was an entire school campus with no people, but it felt off somehow. You know those pictures of creepy places you seem to recognize. You know you've never been there, but you remember it. Well, it was like that. Like a place in the back of my mind I saw in a dream. It freaked me out, but there weren't any better places that I could go, so the further I went. That was until I heard Michael. "Oh, I thought I told you not to stray," I heard him angrily mutter. "Why is that still there?" He cleared his throat. "You just can't follow simple instructions." I panicked. How am I supposed to know where to go? Oh, don't play dumb. You know the feeling. Michael came again from the sky with an expression of anger. "You didn't even tell me anything." He huffed. "Well, fine, you want answers. I won't lie to you anymore." I regretted saying that. immediately as the scar on his face grew bigger. His skin turned pale as his face ripped apart. Black goo dripped everywhere as his clothes changed to gray robes. Black scars stretched onto his limbs as they separated, tearing him apart. His face changed. He had a smile, not the overly large smile that you often see, but still a big smile. His teeth looked misshapen and destroyed. His eyes were empty with small black pupils. He had a long neck that twisted in all directions, making a snapping sound. And he didn't just have many eyes in his arms, but entire screaming faces. They were small, but they were still there. I screamed, backing up and sprinting away, but Michael grabbed me. What I want is to tear you apart, piece by piece. Head start. His voice was distorted and deeper than before. He let me go, allowing me to sprint as fast as I could. He counted to 10 as I went into one of the buildings. It was the main school area with empty classrooms and lockers. I sprinted faster than I ever did through those halls until I heard Michael yell, "Ready or not, here I come." I decided to go into one of the classrooms and silently close the door behind me. I hid in the back of the room as I heard whispering in the ceiling and the walls. I heard footsteps going through the empty hallways as his very distorted voice talked. "You're in here, aren't you?" I heard him say, and he moved closer to my room as I held my breath. I looked up at the door window and saw it. His neck cracked and snapped, stretching to look into the window with a smile. His eyes darted around the room as tears trickled down my face. He laughed as he moved to the next room. I heard him yell, "You're here." I heard walls being torn apart and desks crashing and breaking. The whole room sounded like it was destroyed until he sighed, muttering something, and left. After that, I didn't hear him. I left the room quietly and then left the building. I ran as fast as I could, but I realized I didn't know where to go. It was entirely useless to flee. But I didn't stop running, but I heard something behind me. I whipped my head around, seeing Michael running at me as quickly as he could. I ran into another building as the door behind me slammed shut and disappeared. I heard Michael on at the other side. "No, I control this, not you." And then he yelled in rage and I felt safe. The room was empty with only a button and I pressed it. It opened a door to a long, dark hallway. They sure love dark halls here. I walked in hearing my own footsteps echo. At the end of the hallway was simply a wall of books labeled "The Truth." I hesitantly grabbed one and opened it up. Its contents scared me to my very soul. This is the last safe haven of angels. In the year 132 BC, heaven has fallen completely. The fallen angels continue to trick humans on Earth. We believe that all angels except I have been slain, as well as... The small word was marked off with black ink, but I continued. "I've died." They are unable to strike Earth with their full power, however soon they will. Marking 2026, they will be able to, and Earth has no hope. This was all a mistake. It ended. This had to be fake, but my heart, I felt it was true and it made me tear up. I knew in my heart that the other being that had fallen, and I'm sure the rest of you do as well. I had no more time to talk. I heard Michael again. "So, you know the truth. I mean, I was gonna kill you anyway, so I don't really care." I managed to gain control again. "Let me show you." The room changed. It was like I was at the end of the hall again, so I walked to the end. What I saw at the end made me fall to my knees. I can't describe what it was, but I'll do my best. Imagine the thing you fear will end your life, like a clown for example. It's the only way I can describe it. It was fear, it was pain. It was the truth. I got up and approached it, holding onto it, but the room collapsed. I heard Michael panic. I was in a field with a bright doorway. No, no, you were supposed to be dead. How can you help him? I won't let him escape. His voice faded as I leaped through the doorway, appearing in my house and the cold hitting me again. I might have thought that it was all a dream except for the book. It's still with me and it always has been. I don't know where I will go when I die, but I know that I'll have an angel waiting for me with rage. As well, I know where all the missing people go. They've likely died, but I was lucky. But I think my luck will run out. The police don't believe me when I tell them that I was taken by an angel.